August 2023, Copenhagen's Christiania district. A man collapses in Pusher Street. 30 bullets rip through his body. He's a Hells Angels associate. The shooter? Loyal to familiar gang member. Within months, Danish police shut down Hells Angels clubhouses across the country. By May 2024, Bandidos faces a nationwide ban. 30 years after the bloodiest biker war Europe has ever seen, the Nordic streets are erupting again. Anti-tank weapons, airport ambushes, rocket attacks on clubhouses. The violence that shocked Scandinavia in the 1990s is back. But this time, the battlefield has changed. To understand why Europe's most peaceful region is becoming a war zone again, we need to go back to where it all started. Because the current chaos isn't just a repeat of history. It's the aftermath of a conflict that never truly ended. On December 30, 1980, the Hells Angels planted their flag in Scandinavia. United MC, a coalition of 4 Copenhagen clubs, became the first Hells Angels chapter in the Nordic region. They had 290 members spread across 15 chapters. The Angels dominated everything: drug trade, protection rackets, territory. But their arrival created enemies. September 1983. Bullshit Motorcycle Club formed from groups opposed to Hells Angels' dominance. They settled in Christiania, Copenhagen's famous freewheeling neighborhood, and controlled the cannabis trade there. The confrontation was inevitable. Bullshit members walked into a Hells Angels pub. The first biker war erupted. Between 1983 and 1985, 8 Bullshit members died. 3 were presidents. 1 Hells Angel was killed. 2 civilians caught in the crossfire. By 1985, Bullshit MC was finished. But their remnants didn't disappear. They regrouped. Former Bullshit members approached Bandidos headquarters in the United States. Permission granted, they contacted Bandidos' only European chapter in Marseille, France. Permission granted. Then they made a critical move. They asked Hells Angels Denmark for approval to open 1 Bandidos chapter. Following biker code, the Angels agreed. 1 chapter only. The Bandidos broke their word immediately. They opened multiple chapters. The Angels watched smaller clubs across Scandinavia patch over to Bandidos colors. In 1984, Morticians MC formed. By 1992, they transformed from motorcycle enthusiasts into a criminal organization. They changed their name to Undertakers MC. On December 17, 1993, they became Bandidos MC Denmark. The Bandidos had 130 members across 7 chapters. They were outnumbered 2-1, but they refused to back down. January 26, 1994. Helsingborg, Sweden. Shots fired at Morbid's MC clubhouse. No injuries? But the first shot of the Great Nordic Biker War had been fired. The Hells Angels wanted to prevent Morbids from establishing themselves. Morbids joined the Bandidos alliance. So did Outlaws MC in Norway. February 1994. Same city. A shootout between Hells Angels and Bandidos members. Joachim Bowman, a Hells Angel, dies. The score is 1-0. Days later, someone fires an anti-tank rocket at the Hells Angels clubhouse. The weapons escalating, the violence spreading. The conflict exploded across 4 countries: Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Copenhagen, Helsinki, Oslo, Helsingborg, and Malmö became battlegrounds. June 22, 1994. The president of Clan MC, a Bandidos ally in Finland, shot dead by Hells Angels. July 17, 1995. Michael Joe Ljunggren, Bandidos Sweden president, assassinated. 9 days later, Bandidos retaliate. Anti-tank rockets strike Hells Angels prospect clubhouses in Helsinki and Helsingborg. 2 Bandidos members later sentenced. Kai Tapio Blom gets 6 years. Antti Tauno Tapani gets 4. When Bandidos Finland's president arrived at the Helsinki courthouse for the trial, Hells Angels and Cannonball, MC members attacked and beat him. Bandidos destroyed a Hells Angels tattoo parlor in retaliation. Christmas Day, 1995. 2 Hells Angels members beaten by Bandidos at a Copenhagen nightclub. The war had officially reached Denmark's capital. January 1996. Norway burns. Explosions rock the Screwdriver's MC Clubhouse in Hamar, a Hells Angels prospect club. The Hells Angels Oslo clubhouse bombed. February 1996. A Hells Angels bar in Helsinki destroyed. March 1st, 1996. Hells Angels attack the Bandidos. Helsinki clubhouse. 2 Bandidos suffer gunshot wounds. Jarkko Koko, Bandidos Finland vice president, dies 16 days later in the hospital. 2 Hells Angels prospects convicted. Ilkka Ukkonen sentenced to 12.5 years. Jussi Penttinen gets 6 years. March 10th, 1996. A date that changed everything. 2 international airports, 2 coordinated ambushes, 1 hour apart. Bandidos and Hells. Angels members had been in Helsinki on separate business. By coincidence, rival groups booked the same flights home. At Helsinki Airport, Hells Angels members made phone calls. They requested backup teams to meet them at Copenhagen and Oslo airports. The Bandidos also called for support. Copenhagen Airport, Kastrup. 4 Bandidos members enter 2 waiting cars outside the departures lounge. 3 cars filled with Hells Angels surround them. The Bandidos had just passed through airport security. They're unarmed. 2 Hells Angels gunmen exit their vehicles. At least 33 shots from automatic weapons pour into the Bandidos' car. 4 men hit. Uffe Lindenskov Larsson, president of Bandidos' Southside chapter, dies. 3 others wounded, a prospect, a hang-around, another full member. Panic-stricken travelers dive for cover. Blood trails across the terminal floor. 1 hour later, Oslo Airport, Fornebu. Lars Harnes, Bandidos Norway, shot in the chest in the arrivals lobby. Torkjell Rota Alsaker, Hells Angels Oslo. Chapter president pulled the trigger. The twin airport attacks made worldwide news. Denmark's justice minister visited the Copenhagen crime scene. Police commander Jørgensen called it a professional military operation. 6 Danish Hells Angels members and associates received a combined 53 years in prison. 1 got life. At Hells Angels Oslo, Alsaker sentenced to 3 years. The airport shootings marked the beginning of the war's bloodiest phase. April 17th, 1996. Shortly after midnight, an anti-tank missile slams into the Hells Angels South Chapter clubhouse in Snoldelev, Denmark. The upper floor destroyed. 16 bikers inside, no injuries. 4 hours later, another missile strikes the Avengers MC clubhouse in Aalborg, a Hells Angels support club. The projectile embeds in an interior wall, doesn't explode. 4 members inside, unharmed. April 26, 1996. Horsered State Prison. Assailants cut through the perimeter fence's steel padlock. They reach Morten Traben Christiansen's cell. He's Bandidos' Southside vice president. A hand grenade crashes through his cell window. Machine gun fire follows. Christiansen survives with critical shrapnel wounds and burns. May 7th, 1996. Brønshøj. 2 hand grenades thrown from a passing vehicle into the home of Brian Bremse Paludan Jacobsen, Hells Angels Copenhagen member. He loses a leg. 2 associates wounded. July 15th, 1996. 4 Bandidos members ambushed north of Mjøndalen, Norway, during a motorcycle run. John Face Krogh Jensen dies from a bullet to the head. Police believe the intended target was Michael Garcia Lersha Olsen, Krogh Jensen's protectee. Olsen had been expelled from Hells Angels Copenhagen, then joined Bandidos Helsingborg, becoming the club's European sergeant-at-arms. August 28, 1996. The Hells Angels Sweden vice president shot in Helsingborg. October 1996. 3 attacks on Hells Angels clubhouses. The 3rd attack in Malmö wounds 12 civilian bystanders with an explosion. October 6, 1996. The zenith of the Nordic Biker War. The Hells Angels Copenhagen clubhouse at Titengade, 2-4 in Idre Nørrebro. A fortified compound. The club's annual Viking party in full swing. Approximately 150 people attending. Hells Angels from Denmark and Sweden. Local residents invited via posters. The club's attempt to improve public relations after the spiraling violence. Police patrol the perimeter. Parking near clubhouse walls prohibited. Everyone expecting another attack. 3:05 a.m. A shoulder-fired rocket launches from the sloping roof of a building, 70 to 330 yards away. A Carl Gustaf M 384mm recoilless anti-tank rifle, stolen from a Swedish army depot during a February 19, 1994 burglary. The missile penetrates the building's concrete walls, explodes. Louis Linde Nielsen dies. 39 years old, Hells Angels prospect. Jana Krohn dies. 29 years old, single mother, local resident, no gang connections, 19 others wounded, including Christian Middelboe, Hells Angels Denmark national president. Police Chief Kurt Nielsen described the weapon's capability. The heat flame reaches 3,000 degrees, designed to incinerate tank crews in confined spaces. Danish Prime Minister Poul Nyrup Rasmussen called the attack abominable. Justice Minister Bjorn Vesti visited the scene. The Danish government reacted. October 15, 1996. The Rockerloven passed. The Rocker Act gave police power to evict biker gangs from clubhouses, longer prison sentences for gang-related offenses, increased police powers. November 19, 1996. Bandidos. Prospect Niels Poulsen arrested upon returning from France. He had anti-tank training in the military. March 1998. Convicted. Life imprisonment. October 30th, 1996. A car bomb explodes outside the Hells Angels Oslo clubhouse. December 1996. Shootings of Bandidos members in Horsens and Aalborg, Denmark. January 10th, 1997. Hells Angels member Kim Threisø Svensson shot and killed while driving in Vejgaard, Aalborg. 3 rounds fired at his car. 500 Hells Angels from across Europe and the United States attended his funeral. Several Bandidos charged. Lack of evidence. All released. The murder remains unsolved. February 2nd, 1997. A Bandidos member in detention at Køge survives when an anti-tank missile fired at his cell fails to explode. June 4th, 1997. Drammen, Norway. A car bomb explodes outside a Bandidos clubhouse. Irene Astrid Bekkevold dies. A civilian passing by in her car. A Hells Angels member convicted in 2002. June 7th, 1997. Liselage, Denmark. Bjørn Gudmandsen killed. 3 other Bandidos wounded. A Hells Angels member receives life in prison. By summer 1997, both sides were exhausted. The war had claimed 11 lives, 96 wounded, 74 attempted murders documented, countless arrests. The cost to police in overtime alone estimated between 50 and 75 million kroner. Defense lawyer Thorkild Hoyer mediated between the clubs. September 25, 1997. A press conference. Bent Svan Nielsen of Hells Angels and Jim Tindon, Bandidos president, announced the end of the war. Nielsen stated they couldn't guarantee no more incidents, but they would actively intervene. Anyone defying the cooperation agreement would be excluded from biker culture. The peace agreement included terms: no new chapters in enemy territory, no recruiting members from rival clubs. Both sides agreed. For 14 years, the peace held. The 2 clubs focused on criminal enterprises, drug trafficking, extortion, protection rackets, money laundering. But the truce was fragile. 2009, gang-related shootings surged in Copenhagen. 58 incidents in 1 year. Tensions between Hells Angels and immigrant gangs escalated. 2011, the 14-year peace deal collapsed. The war for Scandinavia's Underworld resumed. Here's where the story takes a different turn. The landscape had changed. Law enforcement crackdowns on traditional biker gangs created a power vacuum. Immigrant street gangs seized control of territories previously dominated by Hells Angels and Bandidos, Black Army, Black Cobra, Bloods, Brothas. Most significantly, loyal to Familia. loyal to familia united disparate Copenhagen immigrant street gangs by adopting biker gang patches, insignia, and structure. They had numbers. Over 100 members spread across Copenhagen, the traditional biker clubs struggled to counter them. 2013. Satudara, a Dutch multi-ethnic biker gang, opened a chapter in Denmark. Founded by immigrants from the Moluccas, a former Dutch colony in Indonesia, in 1990. Banned in Germany in 2015. Banned in the Netherlands in 2018. But they expanded rapidly across Europe. Nadim Khan, a former Hells Angels member, launched Satudara Denmark. When Norway banned Satudara in October 2023, Khan rebranded. The club became Comanches MC. This new breed of biker gang operates differently. Traditional Hells Angels and Bandidos started as motorcycle clubs that engaged in crime. Comanches is a criminal gang that formed a motorcycle club. The Comanches recruited aggressively from immigrant communities. They merged street gang culture with traditional biker structure. Unlike Hells Angels, which historically excluded black members, Comanches embraced multi-ethnic membership. This gave them a massive recruitment advantage among younger criminals. August 26, 2023. Pusher Street, Christiania, Copenhagen. A Hells Angels associate shot 30 times. The shooter affiliated with Loyal to Familia. The conflict centered on the cannabis trade. September 11, 2023. Danish police used the biker law to temporarily close Hells Angels clubhouses. The assessment? Ongoing gang conflict posed serious public safety threats. August 2024. A Hells Angels member sentenced to 8 years in prison for possession of large numbers of firearms. July 2024. Comanches began a conflict with an unnamed Danish criminal group allied to the Rumba network. Swedish teenagers hired by rival gangs to carry out attacks on Comanches leadership family members in Denmark. May 22, 2024. The Danish government issued a temporary nationwide ban on Bandidos MC. Lasse Boye, head of Denmark's National Special Crime Unit, explained the ban. The Bandidos' activities and members' behavior pose serious threats to citizens' lives and public order. The ban took effect immediately. Members couldn't use clubhouses, hold meetings, or wear insignias. In the past decade, Bandidos involved in at least 10 violent conflicts with other criminal groups. August 2024. Bandidos' trial began in Copenhagen's Helsingør District Court. More than 30 court days scheduled. Prosecutors presented extensive evidence. Dozens of criminal convictions involving Bandidos members. High-profile incidents included the 1996 anti-tank weapon attack on the Hells Angels Copenhagen clubhouse. Niels Poulsen, sentenced to life, remained the centerpiece of prosecution arguments. Prosecutors argued Bandidos operates as a violent criminal organization, not a social club. They pointed to the gang's hierarchical structure, international connections, financial obligations toward imprisoned members, including mandatory monthly stipends of 135 euros. Internal documents seized by police showcased systematic control among chapters. Bandidos' defense attorneys emphasized Denmark's constitutional protections for freedom of association. They argued individual members may have committed crimes, but the organization itself shouldn't be held responsible. They highlighted charity work, including collections for Ukraine. The district court rejected these arguments. November 2024. Bandidos MC Denmark dissolved by court ruling in Helsingør. Since May 2024, the group prohibited throughout Denmark. Bandidos had approximately 280 members when the ban was implemented. November 14, 2024. Hells Angels vacated their Svanevej clubhouse in Copenhagen's northwestern district. October 2024. Ægta Publica, a Swedish research organization, released a comprehensive report. In Sweden, the Hells Angels are a shadow of their former selves. From a recruitment perspective, Hells Angels running at low levels. Bandidos in Sweden significantly more criminally active than Hells Angels. But Bandidos also facing challenges. The report documented recent violence. 2022. Linus Berg ejected from Hells Angels Lidköping. 9 days after joining Satudara MC, he was murdered. Hells Angels in Gothenburg threatening to kill former members who defected to Comanches. These threats could spark future conflicts between gangs. The new hybrid gangs are expanding internationally. Comanches now have chapters in Sweden, Spain, Morocco, Vietnam, and Thailand. May 2024, Spanish, German, and Romanian authorities arrested an alleged Comanches leader in Benalmádena. He was wanted in Romania for attempted murder, accused of running drug trafficking networks between Spain and Central and Northern Europe. The current situation in Nordic countries shows the evolution of organized crime. Comanches has approximately 20 members in Sweden and 170 in Denmark, smaller than Hells Angels and Bandidos individually, but growing fast. According to Acta Publica, Hells Angels and Bandidos together have about 650 members in Sweden, split roughly equally. The Danish National Special Crime Unit maintains that Bandidos remain the largest and most conflict-prone of Denmark's three main criminal biker gangs. But with Bandidos banned and Hells Angels weakened, Comanches is positioned to fill the power vacuum. Research from gang experts like Morten Bjørn Norton, who studies organized crime in the Nordic region, reveals critical patterns. The hybrid gangs benefit from combining street gang and biker cultures. They recruit from demographics traditional clubs couldn't access. Their structure is less hierarchical, enabling faster territorial gains, but also causing operational fragmentation. May 13th, 2024. An unprecedented event. Bikers from Hells Angels and Bandidos demonstrated together outside Copenhagen City Hall, a joint protest against forced clubhouse closures and legal dissolution efforts. Organized by Bikerfonden, the Bike Foundation, representing 17 Danish biker clubs. Copenhagen police confirmed everything remained calm. Ordinary people walked around looking at motorcycles. This cooperation between historic enemies demonstrates how much the landscape has changed. Both traditional clubs face extinction. Government crackdowns, court-ordered bans, clubhouse seizures, rising competition from hybrid gangs that don't follow the old codes. The Nordic Biker War never truly ended. It evolved. The 1997 peace agreement froze the conflict between Hells Angels and Bandidos, but it didn't resolve the underlying issues. Territory, pride, criminal markets. Those battles continue. The weapons are the same: anti-tank rockets, machine guns, hand grenades, car bombs. The tactics mirror the 1990s: ambushes, drive-by shootings, prison assassinations. But the players have multiplied. Hells Angels and Bandidos no longer dominate alone. Loyal to Familia controls cannabis trade in Christiania. Comanches expands across continents. Black Army, Black Cobra, and other immigrant gangs carved out territories. The traditional biker clubs that once ruled Scandinavia's Underworld now fight for survival against government bans and new competition. Denmark has become the first country to successfully ban both major biker clubs through court action. Loyal to Familia banned in 2021. Bandidos banned in 2024. Hells Angels clubhouses closed under emergency powers. Sweden and Norway watching closely. If Denmark's legal strategy succeeds, other Nordic countries may follow. The violence that shocked Scandinavia 30 years ago is returning. But this time, there's no clear path to peace. No two dominant clubs that can negotiate a truce. The fragmented landscape of hybrid gangs, street crews, and surviving biker chapters creates endless potential for conflict, each group fighting for limited criminal markets in countries with strong law enforcement. Europe's most peaceful region faces a question. Can governments dismantle organized crime through legal bans and aggressive prosecution? Or will new gangs simply replace the old ones, continuing the cycle of violence that began when the first Hells Angels chapter opened in Copenhagen on December 30th, 1980? The Nordic Biker War has returned, not as a replay of history, but as something more complex, more dangerous, and with no end in sight.